Welcome to today's Explainer. We are about to take a look at literally the most advanced, highly complex organic computer in the entire known universe. I'm talking, of course, about the human brain. And today, we're going to run a bit of a system diagnostic on it. We constantly experience the whole world through our minds, but we rarely actually stop to examine the operating system itself.
It's a pretty profound question when you stop to think about it, isn't it? Who is the you inside your head? We go through our days just kind of assuming we're the ultimate commanders of our thoughts and our actions. But today, we're going to explore how unseen biological and chemical mechanics are constantly constructing, altering, and occasionally glitching out our reality. We're going to peel back the layers of your very own awareness.
Okay, let's dive into this system boot sequence for today. We're going to start with defining our subjective awareness, then move right into the sleep cycle system, decoding the dreamscape, chemical overrides, and we'll wrap up with altering consciousness without drugs.
Section 1. Defining our subjective awareness. So, by definition, consciousness is basically our subjective awareness of ourselves and our environment. Now, for centuries, philosophers like René Descartes believed in this concept called dualism. That's the idea that the mind is this non-material entity completely separate from the physical body, like a ghost in the machine, right? Well, modern psychology paints a very different picture. Science actually shows us that consciousness isn't floating around outside of us. It exists entirely inside the brain. It's the direct physical result of billions of neural connections firing away in these incredibly complex patterns. So your whole sense of self, it's actually a highly sophisticated biological output.
Section 2. The sleep cycle system. A lot of us kind of treat sleep like simply hitting the power button on our laptop, but it's actually a highly active, totally complex background process. It's all governed by a master biological clock that we call the circadian rhythm. This daily cycle is constantly analyzing environmental data. Specifically, ambient light enters your eyes, and the ganglion cells in your retina send signals straight to a specialized brain area called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. When the light levels drop, like when the sun goes down, this pacemaker signals your pineal gland to secrete a really powerful hormone called melatonin. And that is what actually initiates your sleep sequence.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens next. As you drift off, EEG recordings show a dramatic shift in your brain's processing speed. When you're awake and alert, your brain is operating on these fast beta waves. But as you get drowsy, those stretch out into alpha waves. And as you descend into deeper sleep, the waves slow down dramatically into theta, and eventually into these massive, slow delta waves. Your brain is essentially changing its frequency to run different programs.
This whole shift happens in a very structured 90-minute cycle. You begin in stage N1, which is characterized by those theta waves, and this is where you lose muscle tone and awareness. Next up is stage N2. This makes up about half your total sleep, and it's filled with these rapid bursts of brain activity we call sleep spindles. Then you hit stage N3, the absolute deepest sleep, completely dominated by slow delta waves. Finally, the system ramps back up into REM, or rapid eye movement sleep. During REM, your brain becomes highly active, you experience these incredibly vivid emotional dreams, and, brilliantly, your body temporarily paralyzes your muscles, so you literally can't act out what's happening in your mind.
But, like any complex operating system, glitches absolutely can and do occur. We call these sleep disorders. Insomnia is the persistent inability to fall or stay asleep. Sleep apnea involves these really dangerous pauses in breathing throughout the night. Narcolepsy causes sudden extreme daytime sleepiness where a person jumps straight into REM sleep, and then there's somnambulism, or sleepwalking, which actually happens during that deep N3 sleep stage. This can lead to some incredibly complex unconscious behaviors. In a famous, honestly shocking 1987 case, a 23-year-old man named Kenneth Parks sleepwalked out of his house, drove 15 miles, and tragically killed his mother-in-law. Because his brain was fully trapped in deep N3 sleep, he had absolutely no conscious control or awareness of his actions, and he was ultimately acquitted. It's a stunning reminder of the sheer, raw power of the unconscious mind.
Section 3. Decoding the dreamscape.
Our understanding of why we dream has evolved so dramatically over the years. Sigmund Freud originally proposed the wish fulfillment theory, suggesting that dreams are a safe space for us to act out repressed, latent desires that we have to hide during the day. But modern theories are much more grounded in data processing. The memory consolidation theory suggests dreaming is simply the brain moving information into long-term storage, effectively saving your files. Another leading idea is the activation synthesis theory, which proposes that dreams actually mean nothing at all. Under this theory, they are just the cortex desperately trying to make sense of random neural firing from the brainstem, frantically stringing random signals into a coherent story.
Section 4. Chemical overrides and neurotransmitters.
So the crucial point is, to understand how drugs alter our reality, we have to look at the microscopic mechanics at the synapse. That's the tiny gap where neurons communicate. Psychoactive drugs operate by either mimicking or blocking your natural brain chemicals. Agonists are drugs that mimic or increase the action of a neurotransmitter, often by preventing its reuptake so that more of the chemical remains active in the synapse. Antagonists, on the other hand, bind directly to the receptors and block or decrease the normal action of the neurotransmitter.
Depending on which specific chemical pathways they target, we can categorize these drug overrides into 4 main classes. Stimulants, like caffeine or cocaine, are agonists that block the reuptake of dopamine and serotonin, which revs up the central nervous system. Depressants, such as alcohol, decrease consciousness by increasing the production of GABA and decreasing acetylcholine. Opioids, think morphine or heroin, they mimic your body's natural endorphins, binding to opioid receptors to produce intense euphoria and pain relief. Finally, hallucinogens, like LSD or cannabis, heavily alter perception by hacking directly into serotonin and epinephrine receptors. It's wild to think about, but every single one of these works simply by altering the chemical data passing between your neurons.
Section 5. Altering consciousness without drugs.
Now, we actually have a few built-in tools to manually reprogram our state safely, without any chemicals at all. Hypnosis uses deep relaxation and intense focus to create a state of heightened suggestibility, which allows individuals to alter their perceptions or even completely block out pain. Sensory deprivation involves deliberately reducing environmental input, like, say, floating in a dark, silent isolation tank, and this forces the brain to turn its awareness deeply inward. And meditation utilizes highly focused attention to naturally shift your brainwave patterns, helping practitioners achieve those relaxed, restorative alpha and theta states just by sitting still.
Which leaves us with one final, incredibly provocative thought. As we've seen today, your entire experience of the world, your thoughts, your dreams, your alertness, is fundamentally the result of biological rhythms and chemical neurotransmitters firing in the dark void of your skull. If your reality is just a constantly shifting sea of chemical signals, who is really at the controls? It's a question that highlights both the incredible wonder and the delicate fragility of our biological operating system. Thank you for joining me on this system diagnostic of the mind. Keep asking questions and keep exploring that incredible machinery inside your head.